I always thought Europe was the dream. Safer, richer, more opportunities. At least, that is what many of us Latinos think.
Mayor abundancia de oportunidades.
La mayoría está conectada por tren y es muy fácil cambiar entre países.
Tener una mejor calidad de vida.
Quieren experimentar otras cosas, a pasarla bueno.
Porque es bonito.
I experienced all those things that I don't have in Mexico. But after being there for 2 months, I started asking myself, should I leave Mexico for Europe? In this video, I analyze the cost of living and quality of life and compare it with Mexico, my birth and home country. Is it worth moving to Europe? By the end, you might be surprised to hear from a Mexican who has also lived in countries like Vietnam and Colombia the key differences that matters most when choosing where to live. Subscribe to this channel to see the real Mexico, vibrant, raw, and far from the stereotypes. I went to the UK a month, and the second month I went to Italy. But this time, I was seeing the UK with different eyes. Since my husband is from the UK, I will be focusing more on this country. I was imagining affordable rental houses. The reality check was that even outside London, in a small town in West Midlands, renting an Airbnb cost $2,500. I've never paid that amount of money for renting a place in Vietnam, in Colombia, or in Mexico. Fortunately, we got a deal. My mother-in-law helped us find a place for £1,100 or about 1,450 American dollars. And that was a miracle price for the house where we were living, just because of connections. Even in Mexico City, in places like La Condesa have reached similar numbers for small apartments, and people there are already complaining and protesting about gentrification. Is this price becoming normal? Right here, I'm seeing a 2-bedroom apartment right on the main road of Starbridge. It's 2-bedroom apartment and it costs £900. I was surprised that that price wasn't out of reach, and it made me wonder, would I live there and feel comfortable? The second month, we went to Naples and we found what it seems one of the cheapest Airbnbs available for 2 people. It was a little simple studio. This is the Airbnb where we've been staying for a month. It's very small, it's uncomfortable. We are paying $1,500. We realize that it's a very limited budget for Italy, even though we are very close to the historical center. In that Airbnb, I got a surprise almost at the end of my stay. We were in this sofa bed, I was about to sleep, and all of a sudden, I felt something walking on my head. When I opened my eyes, I realized it was a cockroach. And I couldn't stop thinking, in Mexico, for that same money, you get a beautiful and comfortable home. There in Italy, it would be difficult to get, probably. You let me know in the comments if you are watching this video from Italy or you have some experience with Italy. When in England, you do as the British do. Grab a pint. On average. In the West Midlands, I think eating out would usually cost around £13 or 17 American dollars per dish. Whenever we go to England, we usually go to an Indian restaurant. This time, dinner for 4, plenty of food, multiple drinks in Starbridge came to £121 or around $159. Not bad for England. But then I thought, eating out in Mexico is a whole different story. You can go as cheap as you want and as expensive as you want. You know you can find street tacos for about 15 pesos. That's less than $1. But we also have upscale restaurants that would cost you around what we spend in England. It depends on where you are eating. The difference, affordable dining choices are limited. Probably you can find pizza. But if we're talking about pizza, we went to Naples, the worldwide capital of pizza. And it was incredibly cheap. Europe got me there. And if we're talking about groceries, I think that in the UK, there isn't a huge difference in prices compared to Mexico. My husband just went to the supermarket and he's asking me how much I think he paid for all I see here. He bought bread, spinach, vegetables, strawberries, expensive fruit in Mexico, high protein yogurt, olive oil, and chicken. 1 kilo of chicken. I'm going to guess that this cost 48 pounds. I've got the ticket here. I haven't seen it. This cost 28.94 pounds. What I did love was the variety. You can find almost everything, and when the products are about to expire, they cut the price drastically. And the chips, so much vinegar. They really enjoy vinegar. Back home though, we do things differently. We have this beautiful culture of open air markets. Fresh fruits, vegetables, and meat. And buying directly from local vendors is often way more affordable than going to a big supermarket. By the way, if you want to understand more about the cost of living in Mexico, I made a very well done video about the city where I'm living, my hometown. If you want to watch that video, I'm going to put a link here so you can watch it. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've created a website called Thrive in Spanish where amazing Mexican teachers help people around the world learn the real, authentic Mexican Spanish. I also teach there. We've created a space where our students can not only learn the language, but also feel the culture and the community of Mexico. I've created structured courses with different levels, even if you don't speak Spanish at all. And I also host conversation clubs for intermediate and advanced levels. If you ever wanted to learn Spanish with that real connection, check out my website, Thrive in Spanish. The link, I will leave it in the description. Now, transportation. Obviously, Europe shines here. The train system is interconnected, so you can hop on a train and go almost everywhere. But I believe that convenience comes at a cost. From the airport in London to the city center, the fast train costs around 25 pounds, a single trip per person. Yeah, and even short trips on the tube, as they call it, cost around £3.50. Everything is beautiful, yes, but could I do this as a normal life, not just vacation? Comparing it with Mexico, you probably know by now that the metro costs only 5 pesos. That would be around 27 cents of a dollar. And here's something that Mexico does really well: the buses system. They are comfortable, spacious, interconnected, and it's a huge part of how we move here in Mexico, in the country. If you come to Italy, maybe you are like me, I wanted to see a vineyard, having the experience with the wines. We booked a night at the hotel there. We booked an experience with the wines, eating there in the restaurant, at the restaurant, and breakfast as well. Well, for one night, we paid 160 euros. Then the experience cost 75 euros. On the other hand, Europe gets a big point for safety. Walking in the UK and even in France, as I spent a few days in France as well, it felt calm and respectful. That being said, we spent the second month in Naples, Italy, and it reminded me a lot of Mexico City. Chatty people, amazing street food, streets full of life, but also graffiti, chaos, and a vibe that kept me alert. From Naples, we got a ferry to Capri, one of Europe's most exclusive islands. 114 euros per 2 people round trip. Once you're there, even a simple coffee reminds you that this is a luxury destination. A cup of coffee, 6 euros. Juice, 6.50. We decided to go to Capri, which is another part of the island, Capri. And they say that the prices are in restaurants and hotels are cheaper. We just want to see what's there. From Capri, walking is 40 minutes or 30 minutes probably. But what we didn't know is that we need to climb all these stairs, and I'm getting very tired, while my husband feels very motivated. He's in a very good condition.
¡Loco! ¡Pinche loco!
Europe gives you access to stunning places and world-class transport that makes travel so easy. But if I'm planning of living there, I would need to plan in everything so carefully because it seems that everything comes with a higher cost of living. And speaking of essentials, what about healthcare? In the UK, healthcare is free. That's a big deal when you're talking about long-term living expenses. In Mexico, we also have a free system called IMSS. But here's the difference. Whenever people can afford it, they choose to pay private clinics. The service is faster, the attention feels more personal, and sometimes that's the things that make all difference. Are you happy with your healthcare system? Let me know in the comments. Some people ask me if I'd ever move to England. It makes sense. Dave, my husband, is from there. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, a lot of people think of very good reasons of why people move to Europe if they have the chance of doing it. I even looked into it. Getting a residency in the UK costs around $5,000. Teacher salaries, which is the profession that I do, range between $41,000 and $74,000 a year. Not bad for the profession that I do, but with the high cost of living, especially rent, it doesn't sound as attractive if you are living in a country like Mexico. If I move to Europe, I'd probably need to take a job to keep up with the living costs. And that means that I'd probably need to give up this business that I'm creating that's meaningful to me, but it's also taking its time. So, is there anything that could make me move to Europe? Maybe. If one day we grow our family, we'd need to think about education and structure. But that's a story for another video. In the end, Europe inspired me very much, but Mexico is giving me purpose. I'm Karen, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see the real Mexico, vibrant and far from the usual stereotypes.